Hello, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well. I am Demetra K of the Demetra K Show, where we promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we're great people, but we can always strive to do better. Like I said, Big Giant, thank you. Hello, and welcome to YouTube and Facebook. You are the other side of the conversation. And I want to be sharing the link. Of course, I'm by myself. I came on a little bit late because it was kind of thundering and stuff. And sometimes the electricity likes to go out. So I want to kind of wait till it passed, and it did. So here I am, Brother Reggie. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Also like to say a big giant thank you to my super awesome, amazing moderators, as you all hold down the comment section. And I could not and would not do this without you. What? Cece, how you doing? CJ, what's going on with you? Y'all don't even know what I'm gonna say yet, and here y'all come with the smoke. Lachey, how you doing? So anyway, to the topic at hand, we're talking about Democrats left in shambles after New York City mayoral primary upset. Of course, I'll get into all of that in just a second or two. Give everybody a moment to come on. Brother Samuel, how you doing? Hope you're having a beautiful day. Tyrone, what is going on with you? Yo, 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 to you as well. Molly, what's going on with you? Yeah, so I'm just trying to come on a little bit more often as I can, and everything like that. Wimberly, what's going on with you? I find this topic that we're going to talk about to be very interesting. I don't really know much about the Democrat, nominee for the primary, if you will. But I guess I'll learn a little bit more about it. But it's very interesting. It's very telling in regards to, I guess, the future of the Democratic Party. So we're going to get into all that in just a second. Carrie, hope that you are doing well. I'm trying not to be on here an hour today, maybe 45 minutes. Don't hold me to it. Doug Graham, I hope I said that right. How you doing? Hope all is well with you. You know what? I keep forgetting that 4th of July, not that I celebrated, is coming up. I think my daughter and I were cognizant of that when we passed by like a fireworks stand. It was like, oh, yeah, I guess the 4th of July is coming up soon. As I said, I don't celebrate it at all. But I'm sure I'll be reminded of it when the fireworks start going off, probably this weekend, because, a lot of people like to get it crunk early. By the time 103, how you doing? Long time no see. EW, what's going on with you? All right. Give everybody just like 2 more minutes or so before we get at it. That way people won't say, what are we talking about? Sunlight. How you doing? Hope that you're having a great day. And of course, you guys may or may not know, especially here in Houston, I guess this area, the South, we are in what they call hurricane season. So far, it hasn't been anything major, couple of raindrops and a little bit of thunder here and there. Oh my God. I didn't get, look what the cat done drug in. Black America. I was like, is he still with us? I'm just playing. As much as you get on my nerves, I do miss you, miss your conversation and all of that. Bekraka. I know I said that wrong. Let me try to get it right. Baraka. Hope I said that right. How you doing? Brooklyn lady, what's going on with you? Sunlight says facts. The 4th of July is from the 4th until August 1st in Black neighborhoods, Hispanic neighborhoods, and everything else you can think of. Brother Samuel says July 4th, 1930, Master Farad Muhammad made himself known as an Independence Day for Black people. Yes, indeed. I guess the inception of the Nation of Islam. So that is absolutely correct. Of course, I don't know why I'm telling you that. You telling me that. Lachey says the Democrats being in shambles doesn't surprise me at this point because they don't deliver for FBA. It took me a long time to get that concept. I'm learning, as with a lot of people. A lot of people are still waking up. All right, so I think that I've tap danced long enough. Let me go ahead and get into it for the second time. Okay, so as you guys may or may not know, there was a Democrat primary in regards to the mayor in New York City. Now, of course, you guys know that now that Mayor Eric Adams is the mayor and he's trying to keep his seat. But of course, he is not running as a Democrat anymore. He's running as an independent. He says, well, I want to spend my time not protesting, but progressing, right? This is his tagline, I guess. Of course, you guys know that the Democrats have been protesting any and everything that you can think of, especially the migrant situation where Donald Trump said that he and ICE and Tom Homan were going to do a mass deportation effort. And so, of course, with that, ICE have been going here, there, everywhere, Home Depot, clubs, graduations, you name it, and are grabbing people up. And so the Democrat Party, a lot of them, been trying to crash into these ICE detention centers. Representative Monica McIvers is one of them. She got charged and she's looking at 17 years if she's found guilty because she allegedly assaulted a federal agent as they were trying to, bum rush themselves into the ICE detention center. So that's the kind of stuff that they've been spending their time doing. Okay, so again, this particular gentleman, let me get my notes because I don't know a whole lot about him. So he's 33 years old. His name is Zohran Mamdani. He's a Democrat socialist. So he's basically like, I'm a Democrat, but I'm like, I believe all people should eat no matter how much money you make, what class you're from, all of that. It should be spread out. And I'm going to show y'all a video in just a second. But he left the Democratic Party in more disarray after he defeated former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who is like 67 years old. Right now, it says 43% to 36%. Right now, Andrew Cuomo was favored to win. Had like a 20. Let's see, how much was it? $25 million campaign war chest. And Zohran, I hope I said his name right. He had about 9 million, right? And his was a grassroots campaign. Now, it's really considered an upset because Andrew Cuomo had big time endorsements from people like former President Bill Clinton, Kingmaker, Representative James Clyburn, and he had Michael Bloomberg, right? He used to be the mayor of New York City. He also helped put a lot of money behind it to get him in there. Should also be said that Republicans in a whole lot of races, I'll put it that way, are upset because Zohran is Muslim. From what I understand, he was born in Uganda, and then he was brought here as a child. Obviously, he's a citizen, right? Because he couldn't run if he wasn't. But I'm going to show you all a video of his acceptance speech for the Democratic nominee because the election is November 4th, later on this year. But he had people backing him like AOC and Bernie, right? Which jives because they're all kind of in the socialism pool, if you will. They believe, I said they believe, I'm not saying they've been legislating that way, but they believe that everybody should eat. But here's his acceptance speech.
Have won because New Yorkers have stood up for a city they can afford. A city where they can do more than just struggle. One where those who toil in the night can enjoy the fruits of their labor in the day. Where hard work is repaid with a stable life. Where 8 hours on the factory floor or behind the wheel of a cab is enough to pay the mortgage. It is enough to keep the lights on. It is enough to send your kid to school. Where rent-stabilized apartments are actually stabilized. Where buses are fast and free. Where childcare doesn't cost more than CUNY. And where public safety keeps us truly safe. And it's where the mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism. To stop mass ICE agents from deporting our neighbors. And to govern our city as a model for the Democratic Party.
All right, so let's go ahead and remove him. Now, I should say that he was elected in 2020 to the state assemblies, somewhere in New York. Now, it is considered to be a major upset and, leaving the Democratic Party in disarray because of the collapse of the party machine. Y'all know that the Democrats, they are a machine. They got all these, king and queen makers. Again, I cited that of Representative James Clyburn. I think he's like 85, give or take, right? He's been in office in South Carolina for a long time. And he is one of the major key players that put Joe Biden on top when Joe Biden went to visit South Carolina and James Clyburn with his fish fry said, hey, Black people, you guys need to show up for Biden. And that's, attributed to him being in office, because at that point, Joe Biden, as he was campaigning, wasn't doing that well. But they said, okay, it was due to James Clyburn, putting the stamp of approval on him. So basically, the establishment lost its grip on New York politics, right? And we know that New York is very blue, right? Especially New York City. Also, the movement in organizing was a grassroots campaign. A lot of people said that Zohran's campaign reminded them of Obama, right? Went knocking on doors. He was in the subway, really just kind of like out there talking to people, just doing the work, not just saying, hey, my name is Andrew Cuomo and I got some street cred. I've been here before, right? He was actually, from what people are saying, are doing the work. And it's an ideological rift. Basically, the Democratic Party split wide open because they don't have a united front, and they haven't had one for a long time, especially after Kamala lost. They've just been floundering everywhere. People are saying, who's the leader? What's the mission? What are they going to do? The not the primaries, but the midterms are coming up next year. What's going to happen, right? So, and again, most of them didn't really want this kid. In this larger scheme of things, he's a kid, right? He's 33. They didn't want him to win. They wanted Andrew Cuomo. Now, y'all remember, Andrew Cuomo was very problematic because he got put out of office, or he left in a way, due to the Me Too movement, where he was accused of, some strange things with staffers and things like that. But they said even a lot of people who condemned him, I think it was 2021, for those accusations, they're like, well, I think I could overlook it and, endorse him to become the next mayor of New York City. But again, that didn't happen. Also, they said there's a lot of donor backlash. With any political party, there's a lot of donors in front or behind the scenes. And it says business elites fear policy shift. So whatever policies they want, they feel like maybe Andrew Cuomo, I guess he was going to see that those policies stayed in place. But this kid, he's like, nah. The rent is too damn high around here, right? So we need to make sure everybody eats. Now, if you're thinking from an elitist standpoint, they're like, well, we'll say everybody needs to eat, but we don't really mean it, right? We mean that we're going to keep eating greedy. And then lastly, it's a demographic change. It's changing from the old, super old triple OG guard, right, of the silent generation to the younger generation. Again, he's 33. What does that make him, a millennial or Gen Z? I don't know. He's something like that, right? He's pretty young. So it signifies that maybe the Democratic Party, the old guard, don't have the juice anymore. And the question is, really, should they, right? Now, again, I don't know a lot about him, but for whatever reason, people felt like, okay, he's our next hope. Now, he sounds like most politicians, hope and change. Y'all heard he's, pretty much pro-immigration and all of that, as he's an immigrant. So that probably makes a little bit sense. So it really just remains to be seen. But yeah, the Democrats, this is a mighty blow to them, because Andrew, by all means, he was supposed to win that, right? And it seemed like maybe Zohran was an underdog for a little bit. He really jumped in the race sometime last year, the later part of last year, from what I understand, and it just kind of took off. Now, the DNC, their vice chair, David Hogg, he went to, I think the school was Marjorie Stoneman, where they had that mass shooting at the school. And I don't even think he's 30 yet, but they removed him and another young brother, and forgive me, his name escapes me. They being the Democrats, voted to just have them removed. And I guess they got to try to be reelected to that position again, because David Hogg was like, listen, we're going to primary all of these older Democrats, because they're not used to being primary. They need to be primary to prove that they're going to do for the people in order to keep their spots. Well, the old Democrat Party was like, well, we don't want that to happen. So they made up some stuff and whatever and got rid of them. But a lot of people, they're wanting something different. And again, as I said, a lot of Republicans and, a lot of racists, they're mad really because he's Muslim. I've seen a whole bunch of memes where they put a hijab on the on the Statue of Liberty and talk about he's, all these things that are very adverse as far as being a Muslim. And he's going to do this, that, and the other. Y'all know who that probably, primarily comes from, right? So anyway, I want to see what you guys think. Is this really the end of the Democratic Party as most people know it, with such a giant upset? So I'm going to get into the comment section. Thank you for bearing with me here. I'm interested to see what you all have to say. Let's see. Lachey says the Democrats being in shambles doesn't surprise me. Okay, I read that already. Sister Shirley, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Lynette, what's going on with you? CJ says pause. I thought he was in his 40s. No shade. Well, he does look a little older, but yeah, he's 33 years old. So yeah, he's young. But yeah, let me ask y'all this. Don't we want our politicians and people who are maybe in leadership positions, a little younger than they are now? The old guard is like, I don't see anything wrong with the way we've been doing things. Now, the old guard was, born in the 30s, early 40s. So I was like, what do you mean? Nothing needs to change. You know what I mean? Like, we're in a different time and era. We need some fresh new ideas. Again, I don't know that Zohran Mamdani will do any of that. I don't know anything about it, but just the fact that he did, I mean, there's no way he should have done what he did to Andrew Cuomo. No, there's no way he should have did that. So it's very telling. Let's see here. Nigel, how you doing? It says AIPAC will not allow Zohran Mamdani to be on the ballot come November. You know what? You may be right, because he's going up against Curtis Sliwa. He is the founder of the Guardian Angels, and I guess he's run before to be the mayor, but he's running for the Republicans. So that may be interesting. Again, Eric Adams is running as an independent. Some are saying it may not be as easy to defeat Eric Adams, but some said the same thing about Andrew Cuomo. So it just remains to be seen. I think what's very telling is people are tired of Eric Adams. So I don't know. Let's see here. You also say, Nigel, Zohran supporters get ready for our AIPAC intervention. Yeah, and they got a lot of money and a lot of influence, right? Black America says Cuomo is, yeah, he's 67. He's been in politics and all of that. And so, yeah. So Nigel, you said he got his citizenship in 2018. Yeah, and I think he became naturalized when he was 7 or something like that. So, yeah. CJ says, I don't trust nary one of them. Brother Reggie said he's a Muslim that supports the LGBTQ. LGBTHGTV crowd. You crazy. Yeah. I guess in order for you to be a Democrat, you kind of have to be supporters of those things. But you're right. It is kind of direct opposition, or it goes against what they believe. And even Christians, they have passages in the Bible, it says homosexuality is an abomination and all that. I'm not saying that. I'm just telling you what the Bible said. But this is a Christian nation. Most people who are in office claim to be that, right? I think that's the religion that most politicians are. So they all are with it. Selmo, how you doing? It says NYC first Muslim candidate. Yes, and he's the youngest in a very long time. So yes, indeed. Lachey says, don't know who to trust any more with these politicians. Yeah, they all sound the same. Black America says, sounds like he's saying all the right things. Yeah, they all do, right? I'm going to put a chocolate milk fountain in every hallway. You know what I mean? To get the votes. CJ says, watch them try to push him as black like they did bathtub greens. Yeah, born in Uganda. Yeah, doesn't mean he's black. He's Muslim. But they might, right? I don't know. And Nigel says, AIPAC bandits already painting Zohran as anti-Israel. Yes, especially on X, Twitter. It's like, my God, these people like I said, the racism is at an all-time high. They do not want him at all near the mayor's office at all, Brother Reggie says, all I hear is a bunch of rah-rah empty promises. I got you. Sister Shirley says, Zohran Mamdani is another Kamala. He believes in LGBTQIA or AI. Says, and having taxpayers pay for transgender off taxpayers' dollars. Also open borders and illegal immigration staying in New York City. Yeah, it's a blue city, and that's kind of what it's comprised of. Although when Biden and Kamala, I should say, took office, and at first Eric Adams was on board with all of that. He was putting them up in expensive hotels and all kind of stuff. But then when that became unpopular and he saw that Trump was going to be going back into office, he was like, oh, I don't believe in that after all. And of course, he went after the Biden administration saying, hey, y'all owe us money. And a lot of people are speculating that's why they put all those charges on him in regards to taking bribes from Turkey. So yeah, it's getting very interesting. Patty Brown, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Yusuf, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Carrie says, put your faith in no mankind but the Most High. Absolutely. Nigel says, becoming a U.S. citizen post 9/11, his full history, digital footprint is up for scrutiny. Yeah, I mean, and I can understand that. I can. But what has he done to this point, right? I mean, if you think about it, anybody could have a propensity, well, not anybody, but a lot of people, propensity to do something they shouldn't be doing. You know what I mean? And depending on what theory you believe about 9/11, you know. Proud Native Chick, how you doing? He says, I'm glad he won. Okay. Let's see. Brother Reggie says, don't spam the chat or you will be timed out. Got you. And Sister Shirley says, Zohran Mamdani is another Kamala. He wants... Yeah, okay, so you kind of just repeated what you said. Proud Native Chick says, why you black people mad he won? I ain't mad. I don't know nothing about him. I'm just giving you what I understand. That his win has left the Democrat Party in more of a disarray. It's like, what the heck? They were not supposed to lose that to a kid. That was supposed to be Andrew Cuomo, you know, even with all the problems he had. He was supposed to he's supposed to just sail up in there and easy breezy, right? Not so much. Nigel says, how Europeans deflect blame the Asians. Okay. Tiffany says, crazy how we still have Silent Jen in office, right? That is really crazy. Because you hear about all the boomers, they're boomers. But no, it's like they got people who are older than the boomers that are still in office. And like I said, Mitch McConnell, you know, the first time you froze on camera, that should have been when they would have said, hey, partner, I think it's time to head on out to Shady Pines. Thank you for your service. But yeah. And I guess when you get older, Joe Biden is another example. Allegedly, he has a mental decline and everybody knew about it in the White House and they covered it up. I think he's silent. Yeah, he's silent generation. So when you get older, things start to happen. But should you have your finger on the button? I don't know. Mike Nice, how you doing? I hope you're doing well. Brother Reggie says the Dems are chasing their tails. Yeah, in a circle. Baraka, he says maybe both parties should be revamped. Clean house. They should be. I think everybody should try to come as far as much to the center as possible, because I believe that's what a common sense is in the center. All is too far to the left with this or too far to the right to that is why people are saying, okay, let's get somebody in here who's going to be able to, for one, listen, right? To listen to the people, because most people just want common sense. Most people don't want anything that's really too far to the left or too far to the right. Just give us common sense, you know, things that make sense so we can go on with our everyday life. And right now, I don't think either party is doing that. Let's see. Nigel says the old guard has the mentality of America pre-1950s and all those policies. You're absolutely right. And it's like, yeah, we in 2025 right now. You know, some of those things may be okay from that era, but come on now, we need to, you know, come into the new age just a little bit. But unfortunately, for a lot of that generation, the silent generation, not all, and the boomers, they're like, I know what I'm doing. No, I'm not. You don't tell me what to do. I know what I'm doing. Even Joe Biden, when he was president-elect, he was like, I'm calling the shots. He low-key really kind of said that, right? Especially when he was talking to the Black misleadership. I'm calling the shots. Y'all gonna have to learn to get along with the Hispanics because they're here. And he didn't want to really listen to anything. And I think that's partially why he stayed in office, even though allegedly he had a mental decline, because nobody could say anything to him. You know, he couldn't listen to advice. Brooklyn Lady says term limits. Yes, absolutely. I totally agree. Black Pixie, how you doing? It's the same age as my son turns 33 on Juneteenth. Yeah, they should be the ones that's calling the shots. I think so. I'm 54 years old and I'm too old at this point, right? Cell 44, and I know I was jacked that up, but how you doing? It says New York FBA didn't vote for this person. We got our own agenda, nor did we want Cuomo in New York. Yeah, clearly, right? Hey, Diane, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Let me go ahead and skip down just a little bit, y'all, so I can catch up. I do see you guys' comments, though. Hero, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Monique, what's going on? He says Trump is in his late 80s. No, he's 79. He actually just turned 79. I think it was June 14th when he had that parade that wasn't for his birthday, but it was for the Army's 250th birthday. So he's 79. He's not in his late 80s. And one thing I'll say about Trump, as cuckoo as he is, he seems like he's doing all right for 79. You know what I mean? He's able to move around and all of that. So I don't know, but he's not in his late 80s. Hey, Mr. South Carolina, how you doing? J Bubba, what's going on? Long time no see. He says you will see New Yorkers flee to Florida and Texas. It's going to be very interesting. I will say that. Sal 44, he says we voting for New York FBA agenda. Okay, I got that already. CJ says their mouths say Christian, but their actions seldom do. There you go. Sharon, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Brother Eddie said this fool said free buses and government ran grocery stores. Good luck with that. If he thinks the rich are going to pay for it, they're all running to Florida. New York is doomed. You know, in theory, you should be able to do that. I mean, if they were able to do it for the migrants, why can't they do it for people who are already there? They were literally giving migrants there in New York City cards, debit cards, so they could go buy the food they wanted because the food pantries or whatever it was, they didn't like that food because it wasn't the food that they're used to eating, whether they were from Venezuela or wherever, right? So they got a card with money on it, and they were able to go buy what they want. So if they could do that for the immigrants, why can't they do it for people who live there and who need the money or, the money to go buy food? So it's doable in a perfect world, maybe somewhere not as close to utopia. That would be great. So I don't think he's far off, but like you said, will he actually be able to get those things done? Let's see who else is on here. Beverly White, how you doing? And Nigel says, I'm Gen X, just seeing the large percentage of people in positions of power worldwide born darn right. World War II is scary as F. It is. It really is. And not to, I mean, there's people, and you know what? Y'all want to know what's really crazy? Mel Brooks. If you know, you know. He's still with us. I think he's like 98, 99. And he's going to be, I think, in the remake of Spaceballs. He's going to be in a remake of Spaceballs. I think they came out like the 80s or something like that. Mel Brooks is still with us. So I say that to say, because you're older, I don't mean that you don't have your faculties about you, but to me, it's selfish because you have the generations behind you that'll never get a crack at, making decisions for, their city or any of that because you're Charlton Heston from my cold dead hands. You won't let go of the power. So yeah, Molly says Shady Pines. Yes, Shady Pines. Yep, cause yep. How you doing? Let's see who else. JJ says whoever wins, FBA still loses. Yeah, pretty much, right? But a lot of Black people. I saw Don Lemon. He went, I guess, somewhere where Eric Adams was speaking, and they're like, "I'm here to support him." And he asked them why, and they really couldn't give a good answer. And it's like, because that's what they're used to doing. He's Black. I'm going to show up and support him. It's like, y'all wasn't paying attention to the last 4 years of what he was doing in New York City. Like, where have y'all been? So, I don't know. Lachey says, agree, we need some common sense politics. Yeah. Reality, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Nigel says, Biden, 50 plus years in politics. What legacy did he leave behind? It wasn't a good one. You also say, actually, Biden got elected the same year I was born in 72. Yeah, that's a long time to be holding on to the reins, right? Mike says, speaking of birthdays, happy 35th born day to my son. Yes, happy birthday. I'm going to say Mike Jr., even though he may not be a junior, but happy birthday to him. 35 wonderful years and 35 plus 35 more wonderful years to him. Bruce, how you doing? Let's see. Reality saying hello. Michelle, it says genius, Mamdani all the way. So you think he's a genius? Okay. And if you don't mind me asking why, I really just started hearing about him went right up to the primaries, and then especially with the upset. He wasn't supposed to upset Andrew. So if you don't mind me asking, what makes him a genius? I mean, if we want to go off the strength of him with his grassroots campaign and things like that, whooping Andrew, yeah, I would say that's ingenious. So I'm interested. CJ says, as long as they stop coming here to the Carolinas. And Bruce says Biden voted against a raise in the minimum wage. In 1977, that measured index future increases the rate of inflation. Yeah, I mean, even now, what minimum wage is $7.25 nationally. I'm in here in Texas, it's $7.25. There's nowhere in the United States you can do anything with a wage of $7.25. What is that after taxes? About $36 a day. You know, if you work for 8 hours a day somewhere at $7.25, what can you do with that? That won't even fill up your car. That's insane. Now, I know the Republicans or somebody's now talking about raising it. What is it, $15? Minimum wage really should be about $25 to $32 an hour. So people could take care of themselves. That's really where it should be to keep up with the cost of living. But $7.25 is evil. Red Planet, how you doing? Says if we stop paying for Israel's wars, that might happen. It might happen. But then it might not. Celeste, how you doing? Says, did you know the state of Pennsylvania operates over 600 liquor stores and bring in over 200 million a year? I did not know that, but that's a lot of liquor stores. A lot. Brother Reggie says, oh my God, he turns 99 on my sister. On my sister's birthday. So you're talking about Mel Brooks, right? I told you. I was just thinking about him one day. It was like a couple months ago. I was like, something I was watching, it had to have been. And I was like, is he still alive? Because I haven't heard he died. And I Googled, I was like, oh my God, he's still here. So very interesting. I want to know what he's eating and drinking. Mel Brooks, yes, Blazing Saddles, hilarious. You also say they love the N-word of that movie. Yeah, that was a hilarious movie. Brother Reddy says, where is, he says, Wig Senior, you know what, you better stop it. AKA Maxine Waters. I hope she's packing up for Shady Pines. I don't know. I have to, check on her, see if she's still with us too, because we don't hear much about her anymore. And I imagine you wouldn't. And Maxine is in her 80s as well. So I'd imagine you kind of lose a little bit of energy getting out there. I don't know. I would be. Hell, I'm 54 and I'd be tired. I'm like, ugh. Let me give me some coffee or something. Lachey says they are just political gatekeepers, the older politicians, in my honest opinion. Yeah, they are. But which makes this upset even worse, because they are gatekeepers, but they couldn't, gatekeep that position for Andrew. That's an embarrassment, actually. Doug says, I remember seeing it in the theater when it came out. I don't think I saw it in the theater. Definitely at home somewhere. S. Edgy, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Mike says he is okay, so he is a junior. See, I knew. I just knew. No. Yes. No, not my son. I don't have a son. I have nephews that are like sons. Mike's son is 35 today, not mine. I only have a daughter, and she's not 35 yet. Brother Reddy says, dumb like Jamal Bowman. Yep, lost his seat. Calling this guy a superstar. Why? Because he yells a lot like AOC crazy. Yeah, and Jamal lost his seat. AIPAC ran circles around him too. Of course, he's pro-Palestine, and so is Zohran, very pro-Palestine. Vernice, how you doing? Says, seeing the New York City women wearing burqas in exchange for free socialism stuff is going to be a sight to see for the rest of us. So y'all think he gonna make people wear burqas? Is that what we're doing here? Nowadays with how a lot of these women are dressed, a burqa is not a bad idea. Let me stop before I get in trouble. Michelle says, anyone knows multiple languages and speaks so well? I have a brother that's a civil engineer. You saw, okay, so genius. Okay. All right. Nigel says 12 years to retirement for me. Plan is island hopping over Asia and the Pacific until the good Lord calls me home. I know that's right. I was just having a conversation with my sister earlier about that. I said, people are under the impression that you should just work till you're like 70 or something. I said, but think about it. When you're 70, like I said, I'm 54, and when I travel, I'm like, oh, I hate packing. I hate all that until I get to where I'm going. So I say that to say I couldn't imagine being 70-ish. Said, okay, now I'm going to travel the world. I'm like, I'm 70. I'll probably walk around the block. Maybe I'll go to the mailbox and then come home and watch my stories. So you're supposed to retire, fairly early when you have some energy. But I know that's not always the case now. I know a lot of people my age that should be retiring because they've worked somewhere for 30 years or whatever it is, but they can't because their retirement does not keep up with the cost of living. So they have to keep working. And it's sad, but I wish everybody could retire early enough where they have the energy to do whatever they want to do. But island hopping sounds really nice. And Razcash, how you doing? It says Florida current minimum wage is $13 an hour, goes up $14 an hour in a few months on September 30th, 2025. And even with that, $14 an hour is not a lot of money. It's really not. You cannot afford to live in a house or car payments and all of that, like regular adult stuff. Right now, I know minimum wage jobs used to be for kids. I had a minimum wage job when I was in high school. I worked for McDonald's, 1987. That's when I started working at McDonald's. I was a junior. I think it was $3.35 an hour, right? I'm a kid. Now I could buy my own school clothes and pay for my extracurricular activities and things like that. That's what it's for. But unfortunately, there's a lot of older people who have full families and all that. They work there. And there's no shame in that. It's like I got to make a living or whatever the case is, and that they have to do that. They should be able to make a living enough to at least be able to do the basics, right? But that's not the case. And it's sad. Sunlight says Maxine's still running around acting a fool. She got the door. Yeah, I saw that. Got the door slammed in her face over some migrant issues a few weeks ago. Yeah. She had her hand full of keys. She was going to bum rush the ICE detention center. There's like, man, go on somewhere. Sydney, how you doing? Where have you been? You says, Shambles, I live here. They aren't. Oh, yes, they are. And when I say the Democrat Party, I'm not talking about just in New York because it got endorsements from Bill Clinton. I guess he lives there maybe sometimes. James Clyburn, Michael Bloomberg. Yeah, he's a New Yorker. But the Democratic Party in general. Like, how do you have such a schism? You know what I mean? Or you can't. Andrew Cuomo, I guess. I don't know. I don't live in New York. But I know there's a lot of people who don't care for him, didn't care for him when he got accused of all these things. But the fact that he came back, and a lot of those people that did not want him back, they wanted him out of office in 2021, they were okay with him coming back. To me, that sounds like shambles. They're like, how is it that, and I'm talking about the Democratic Party in general, not just New York, how is it that we do not have our finger on the pulse of the Democratic Party? And come on, Sydney, I know you're a staunch Democrat, and I just want to preface it this way. I'm not a Republican. I'm an independent, whether you guys believe it or not. And guess what? I don't care if you believe it or not. But we should be able to talk about a party without being in denial. Sydney, you can read any article, turn on any television station. Hell, you got Joy Reid, of all people. She was the I don't want to be disrespectful, but she was that girl, right? For the Democrats. She's spewing all this stuff when Kamala was running and all this other stuff. And she's even saying the Democrat Party is in shambles. I was listening to Jeff Johnson, who was big time Democrat, shield. He's saying the Democratic Party's in shambles. But here you are, I love you. You a triple OG to the show. But here you are saying it's not true. So somebody lying. And I don't think it's me. I love you, though. Brother Reddy says, you get a burger, you get a burger. Y'all crazy. Hey, Rodney, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Blessings to you as well. And Daryl, what's going on with you? Says, God dang it. It says the sheriff is a what? Oh, you talking about Blazing Saddles. I was like, what you talking about? Edgy, you say, the goal is to create chaos across the globe in order to pull out the new world order, perhaps. And we've been hearing about that forever, right? Lachey says, yes, unfortunately, I will probably be working into my old age. So sad. It is sad. There's a lot of people that just simply cannot afford to retire anymore. Like, I want to, but I can't. Brooklyn Lady says it's $16 in New York City minimum. And I think New York is one of the most expensive places to live. The most expensive. What you doing with $16 an hour? Or like, what are you gonna do? It's like subway fare or something. I don't know. Nigel says $14 an hour times 2,000 hours a year. Yep, 28,000 before taxes. And what fantasy world are we living in? Is what is that? Australia? Oh, Australia minimum wage is $25 an hour. Yeah, that's a start, right? That's about right. But $28,000 a year is like, yeah, okay. Let me give me a little cardboard box somewhere. Maybe I can buy groceries in it. I don't know. To Micah, I hope I said that right. How you doing? It says, I'm a lifelong New Yorker. This is a good thing, and only the media is in shambles. I'm not saying it's not a good thing. I think it's a good thing too. I think it signifies that the old guard has no power. You know, their power is dying off and their grip is loosening. So I don't hate it. I just don't know anything really about the guy to have a good opinion. Giron, how you doing? It says all New York City past Democrats give us is high taxes and programs that don't work. Yes, indeed. And Edgy says the most important is not the minimum wage, rather the minimum expenses. Dodge the expenses. Yeah, I agree. It's not what you make, is what you keep. But I mean, even just for the basics, $28,000 a year, where can you live? Most people are paying over half of their annual income in housing, rent, mortgage, or whatever. So what can you do with $28,000? Even if you were to budget or whatever, I mean, maybe you'll get lucky and get a $600-800, rent in an apartment. I don't know what that would look like, but even that is probably rare. Sunlight says, have I ever met Maxine? No, I have not. I know people who have. Walter is one of them. He says she's a mess. I forget what fancy restaurant he met her at. Lachey says, I'm an independent myself. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody should be independent. Nobody should be able to assume your vote. Oh, they're a Democrat, they're going to vote for me. No, you have to earn my vote, James in the building. How you doing, Jupiter? What's going on? It says, good evening, Demetria. The Democrat Party is abysmal. No masculine man or person wants to vote for that. Even your old shield defiant lawyer still pushing gaslighting, civil rights lie, and Russia hoax. Yeah, you talking about my homie that hates us so much. Yeah. And a lot of people said that. Where is the masculinity in the Democrat Party? Not talking bad about anybody that's LGBTQ, but where are the men that's like, hey, I'm unapologetically a man. I'm not going to make any excuses for being that, right? I would say a lot in the Democratic Party, yeah, they really with the feminism, and especially a lot of the men. They're as my net. Oh, here, I'll tell you what they are, so I won't get in trouble. A lot of the men in the Democratic Party are. So y'all do with that what you will. As my nephew would say, they're very fashionably involved. Mr. 619, how you doing? It says, crazy to see the far left Muslim do more for his constituents than the CBC has done for us in this party. And that really remains to be seen, right? He gets in there, he's going to back up all the things that he's saying. But as a lot of y'all said, he may not even get that far due to the powers that be. Jack Wiley, how you doing? Says the Black Democrat politicians tried to wipe out the foundational Black Americans. Yeah, that didn't work. Okay, Nigel, so you are an Aussie. All right. From what I understand, that's a very long plane ride. Is that true? And Brother Reddy says studies show men leaving the Democratic Party increased their testosterone by an average of 200 points. Baraka, he says these wages will keep multiple families in one home overcrowded. Yeah, and you see that. I mean, you can go in any neighborhood, especially here in America, and in the driveway they have 4 and 5 cars, right? Because it's a multi-family for real. You have multi-generational, I guess that's what I'm trying to say, families that are living in one house. They said now more than ever, grown children are going back home to live with their parents because they just can't make it on their own. And it's sad. My generation, we could do that. I remember I was making $9 an hour in 93, 94. I could pay my rent, my car note, And all of that, right? Now, of course, cost of living was a lot cheaper then, but yeah. Raskasha says next year Florida minimum wage goes up to 15 an hour September. Okay, so yeah, no, that's still not enough. James, thank you so much for that love and appreciate you. Says miss and love you, Demetra. I miss and love you too. You've been missing in action. Where you been? You been cheating on me? Bruce, it says McDonald's employee gets $23 per hour, gets subsidized child care and universal health care. McDonald's is an international corporation. They know they are underpaying their American workers. You said $23 an hour? Let's see if they're hiring. I'm just kidding. Would you like fries with that? Listen, I used to work at McDonald's. I think I could still, you have the suggestive sale. So if they order Big Mac and fries and a drink, would you like an apple pie with that? Okay. Don't play with me. Brother Reggie says, did Walter straighten out her wig when he met her? I think back then she probably had her own hair. So I don't quote me. Sister Shirley says, I would not have been able to retire if I did not own my apartment. I retired at 68 and I think that was too old. 68 is not bad, right? You still have a lot of energy and things like that. But man, I think when you get to 50-ish, give or take, you should be able to say, phew, I think I'm going to sit it on down. I'm done working. But now people are literally working into their 70s. And that's not good. You don't have a quality of life. You should, after working your whole life, be able to say, I'm going to go do some fun stuff now. I'm going to wake up when I want. I'm throwing the alarm clock away. I'm going to watch TV until my eyeballs pop out if I want to do that. Stay up late. You should be able to do those things. But there's a lot of people like, yeah, I got to get up and go to work in the morning. So it's sad. Black Pixie said, I met Jim Clyburn at Shoney's. I was about to say you met him at one of his fish fries. Diane says, Demetra, many people are living in heirs, car, and other vehicles. So they're living in a car that was passed down to them. Is that what you're saying? That's crazy if that's the case. Beverly says the Democrats are a freak show, and yet Diddy is the one on trial. I think they did their closing arguments today. I haven't caught up today, but this is going to be very interesting. But yeah, I'm sure Diddy knows quite a few of those politicians. Even Trump said, yeah, I know him. But, when he, I guess, got in with the Democrats, Trump knows Diddy. When he got in with the Democrats, then he started to trash me because he was asked, would you think about pardoning Diddy? He says, I think about it. He says, but nobody's asked me, because he's able to do that because it's a federal case. So it remains to be seen. Yeah, Brother Reggie, fashionably involved. Diane says, Demetra, many people are living in their cars and other vehicles because they cannot afford rent. Yeah. And that's what I always say. I hear about people living in their cars. I don't mean they ain't working. There's a lot of people who are homeless that work. They go into high-rise buildings and, jobs and stuff. They just can't afford to have a roof over their head. And that should never be the case, especially when you hear about migrants coming over here. They getting roofs over their heads and money and medical care, education. They're like, it's bizarro world is what it is. It's just like, is this for real? And then to think that people vote for that and they're championing that. Listen, I'm not saying nothing bad about any migrants at all, because I think people should come over here the right way, all that, whatever the case is. But when you're coming over here the wrong way, and then you getting all of that and you stepping over people on the streets, American citizens, that's wrong. And that has to change. I don't care what side of the aisle you vote for. You just have to come to that conclusion that that's wrong. And no party should be voted for that champions that. So Bruce says, I forgot to add that per hour wage and benefits in Denmark, which makes it laughable at that people in Greenland are going to elect to become American. So they coming over here instead of staying in Greenland. Interesting. Nigel says Australians have deep roots with America for over 100 years. All major conflicts, Australia stood beside America, even controversial wars. Okay. And Brother Eddie says, no shame, but I love how my California brothers and sisters say cars, cars, R's, and R. No, I try not to do it. If you listen to some of my commentary, I'm like, oh, I did it. That's just what it is, Hey, Brother Todd, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. He says, I am a New Yorker and Mayor Adams needs to go ASAP. His whole administration had to resign. He needs to go. Yeah, That is true. But he's, delusional. He's going to switch parties. I'm an independent now. It's like, man, you still the same old dude. No matter what party you in, you're the same guy. Like, oh, well, you fooled me. He's like, surprise. I'm an independent now. It's like, you're still the same guy. That was for all the mass immigration and making excuses for taking care of migrants. You're that same guy. You're that same guy that watched the Venezuelans beat up the police officers in Times Square, and they got the on the wrist. But Eric Gardner, who was selling Lucy cigarettes, got choked to death. And the officer, was it Daniel somebody, he got off. Now, I know that wasn't under Mayor Eric Adams' mayoralship, but he was there. He was in some form of the police department or whatever. So I don't know. Mayor Eric Adams is very problematic, and I agree with you. He needs to go. Nigel says, Aussie study American politics so we know what is coming down the line, as you should, right? Lachey says, yes, I'm not ashamed that I'm still living at home at 43. It's hard out there economically. Yeah, there's no shame in that. If you got a home to go back to, whether it's a relative, that's what you should do. I understand people like, well, you can't come back here. You need to figure it out. That's wrong. It's hard to struggle. It's hard to struggle and not have anywhere to live. If you can go home, your parents or whatever, they're like, honey, come home, save some money, help out a little bit or whatever. That's what you should do. There's no shame in that, as Eddie says, on my street here in Canada, he says, currently I see many homes for sale. It seems like many families are broke. Yeah, same here in Houston. In every neighborhood, you see homes for sale. Sometimes you see 2 and 3, 4 homes for sale on one street. I kid you not. So I'm with you. It's like, what's going on here? Why are people putting their homes up? And of course, within the last 2 or 3 years, a lot of people bought those homes when they were overinflated. And so now the interest rate is high and all of that, and it's probably whooping their butts. A lot of people probably lost their jobs and a whole lot of things. Hey, Pop, how you doing? Thank you for your membership. Love and appreciate you. One who cares, how you doing? Doug, says there's a story saying Representative Andy Ogles, is that what it is? Just formally asked AG Bondi to revoke Mamdani's citizenship. Yeah, I've seen all that nonsense on X. They tripping. So y'all gonna cheat? Y'all gonna cheat because he, won the primary? Y'all gonna cheat to try to revoke his citizenship? That is so silly. That's really American, right? Are we gonna cheat because we don't want a Muslim potentially at the helm of one of the biggest cities in New York? Is crazy to me. Shirley, you say 68 isn't too old, but complaining at 54. Yeah, I mean, I get up early too, and I move around a lot. I rarely sit down. So at the end of the day, that's why I always tell you I go to bed early. I go to bed early. If I have nothing else to do, I'm not above going to bed at 6:30, 7 o'clock. But I get up early. Like I have a lot of energy already, like I'm moving around and stuff. But yeah, sometimes I do get tired, menopause, it's a lot. But I'm saying 68 is not old, it's not too old. I hope when I'm 68 that I have some energy left. As Eddie says, North America is designed for young workforce, not retirees. There you go. By design. Enlighten, how you doing? It says, when my mother grew up, her mother and sisters lived together with their children. Yeah, that's how you make it work, right? You don't say, oh, I don't want nobody living with me. But you got 4 bedrooms. I don't care. I just can't have other people living with me. I just kind of just weird like that. And knowing you struggling too. Why not put everybody you can together? That's what other races do. The Asians, Hispanics, they do that. They're like, listen, we don't always like each other either. But guess what? We're trying to accomplish a goal. So get all in here, all 10 of you, shut up, go to work, bring the money back so we can buy another house, and then we can do it again, and we can keep buying, and then pretty soon we ain't all got to live on top of each other. That should be standard, especially if you ain't got it like that. Rent is high. It is everywhere. So I get it. Mike, you think Diddy is done? Yeah, I don't know. It remains to be seen. It sounds like they want a verdict by July 4th, which is what? Next Friday? It's interesting. I don't know. It could go either way. Hey, you average logical thinker, how you doing? I enjoyed watching your live earlier. Let's see who else. Sister Shirley says, my oldest daughter moved back in with me, telling me she needs to take care of me. I don't believe her. She just wanted to save her money, right? Like, here, Mom, I'm going to help you out. Like, sure. Edgy says, why not renting the chimney by East Indian family? Is what does that mean? Brooklyn Bandit, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Says, as an independent, I'm voting for Mayor Adams. So why is that, if you don't mind me asking? I'm interested. All right, let me skip down a little bit so I could catch up, as I see that I have less than 5 minutes left. Raz Cash, it says, in California, it says, in California, or if California passed a law, hotel workers would get 30 an hour minimum wage. So the hotel companies say that wage is too high, might have to lay off workers. Yeah, but you better make sure them rooms are clean, okay? Because don't nobody want to rent no dirty hotel room, right? And I don't know. I think they should get paid a decent wage. They should, because I imagine they go in a lot of those hotel rooms and it's like, I don't get paid enough for that. So yeah. Edgy says, not on one street, also side by side for sale. Oh yeah, I've seen that too. Nigel says, farmers are having a hard time with the lack of farm hands that were previously filled by immigrant workers. Never thought I would see white farmers crying on TikTok or YouTube. Yeah, but that's why Trump backed off a little bit. He was like, okay, maybe we shouldn't run up on the farms and in the factories because people are complaining about they don't have people to pick the fruit and things like that, and it's going bad. So I mean, it seems like it's a kind of a half-baked idea, because at first he said, yeah, we're going to go get the criminals, right? The illegal criminals, but then it turned into everybody else. So it's kind of crazy. We gotta have to rethink that. Black Rose, how you doing? Says, New York is in big trouble if this man wins. Again, I don't know anything about him. I'm still learning. I'm here. How you doing? Says, hotel workers need to get paid. That caretakers and people that care for disabled people and nurses need that. California is trash. It gets trashier every day. Yeah, I was back home not too long ago, and I was just like, damn, it's disgusting out here. Especially depending on where you go. And Light says, my great grandmother worked and had boarders to pay her rent. That's what they used to do back in the day. They'd buy a big giant house with a bunch of bedrooms, and they would rent those out. And like I said, they call them boarding houses. And one of those the movies that illustrate that the best is Lackawanna Blues. That is a perfect illustration of that. It's like one of my favorite movies. She ran a boarding house, and she had different people with backgrounds and all kind of stuff renting the house. So yeah, absolutely. So let's see. It's my pleasure, your average logical thinking. Let me see who else came on here. See Tyler. Yeah, 6:30. Shoot, I'll be tired sometimes. But again, I get up early and I'm busy. Bernice says, New York said they would never forget 9/11. Now they don't remember 9/11 even happening. Uh-oh, what you saying? What are you saying? Thank you, James, for asking everybody to hit the like button. Love and appreciate you for that. See Tyler says, mine are moving back too. That's okay. Yeah, that's becoming the norm, where children are moving back home. And I would say, as a parent, you should be all right with that. Now, unless your kids got some issues or they're crazy or whatever, you should let them move back. I know it's an inconvenience. As a parent, maybe you're used to having your own home and, you're able to walk around naked. And now you're going to have to put a robe on or whatever. But I think you should be all right with letting your children move back home. There's some people say, well, you need to make your kids, they're struggling. No. Don't make your kids struggle and suffer if they don't have to. That doesn't make them strong. That makes them resentful, especially if you have the means to help them get on their feet. Don't be that parent. There's no glory in being able to brag about, I make my kids suffer. They know they can't come and stay back with me. There's no glory in that. There's no medal, no cookie to be gained by telling people you do that to your children. Like, read the tea leaves. We're living in a time where it's hard. It's hard for a lot of people my age, to make ends meet. Like I said, I should be retiring if I would have stayed at my the job that I had the longest, even to this day, to this point. I would be retiring next year. I'd have made 30 years. But even people my age, they can retire. Like, okay, I've put in my time, but they don't have the money to retire. So yeah, don't make your children suffer if they don't have to. So what if they're grown? If they tried and they couldn't, let them come back home. I think it's silly, Yeah, and yeah, I was about to go think of give them a timeline. Now, if they come back home and they tricking off money and they partying, nah, hell no. Okay. Let me see what you saving. Let me see that you're saving. You know what I mean? And make them pay a bill. Light bill, gas bill, water bill, because all that stuff is going to go up. Like you can move back home, but you need to contribute to something. You ain't finna just be up in here just laid up on me. Now I need to see you productive, saving money. If indeed you're really trying to get your own place when things get better. But yeah, partying and nah, you need to be productive. Because as my father always says, I ain't going to help you do nothing, you know? So you're right. The average logical thinker, give them a timeline and expectations. Absolutely. So anyway, Sister Shirley says he just can't win. I don't care for his agenda, period. Okay. Black Rose says most farms are owned by corporate America and corporations are trying to keep their cheap labor at the expense of U.S. citizens' low wages. I believe it. I believe it. Thank you, James, for rooting that on. And Nigel says, laughing my ass off, walking around that. Yeah, you know, you if you're used to living at home by yourself, you probably walk around naked. Because you can do that, right? And then your kids talking about, hey, mom, dad, I'm going to need to come back. You know how long I've been walking around this house naked? And now I got to put clothes on because you coming back home and you probably bringing some grandchildren, maybe a husband or a wife. I guess. I mean, I'm just saying. I mean, I'm not saying I walk around naked, but I'm not saying I don't. Brooklyn Bandit says, with a new person in office, we won't ever get reparations or a crime bill. Yeah, unfortunately. Mike said, yeah, indeed, you got to pay something, you know? And as Eddie says, a child is a child even at 50. Yeah, well, they're your child, right? Now you don't want to treat them like a child, but they are your child. So yeah, you know, don't do that to your children. And Bruce says, Demetria makes a great point. When the child returns, he or she needs to pick up some of the expenses. Yeah, because, you know, I had grandmothers that was like, you wasted my water. You go in there and wash your hands, turn my water off. And then you're stuck with soap on your hands like, because you literally turned the water off when they said turn the water off, right? And then you didn't want to turn around and wipe your hands on a good, you know, old ladies, they'd have their hand towels there. You're supposed to dry your hands on them, but you knew better not to do that. So the point being, you know, yeah, people don't want you wasting their water, but since you're going to be here taking showers and all that, yeah, you need to pay like you weigh, at least get the water bill. Because that way, if you pay the water bill, then you ain't going to be in the shower for 20, 30, 40 minutes. Okay, you're going to get in and get out. So yeah. Naidu says, Wall Street Word, BlackRock and Vanguard got private equity to purchase millions of acres of farmland as banks claw back on loans. Yeah, I've heard about BlackRock. I have heard about them. Mike says, in the words of late, great Bernie Mac, absolutely. Sister Shirley said, I don't know if some of you are aware that the Supreme Court said we can't use the word Black in any reparation claim. So FBA is out because it stands for Foundational Black Americans. I wasn't aware of that. Well, what are we supposed to use? Interesting. I'm Brooklyn Bandit. He says, my kids can move back in with me at any age, but I ain't babysitting my grandkids. That part. I don't have no grandkids yet. And I'm sure when I do get some, I'll love them dearly. I have great nieces and nephews. I love them, but I'm not built like that no more. How long you say you're going to be gone? 20 minutes and not 21. 20 minutes. So anyway, I love and appreciate every last one of y'all. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to try to come back here tomorrow. As I said, I'm trying to make it a habit to come back as often as I can. But in the meantime, you guys have a great rest of your evening. If you felt any value of what we did today, there's ways to donate to the channel at the very least. Like, subscribe, and all of that. I will see you guys hopefully tomorrow, but definitely on Sunday with Donovan. Peace.